for the news here on Luntha Television, and you're with me, Fales Chizombe. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV prays for victims of devastating Nepal floods. Ad hoc committee assures Malawians of truth as Chikangawa plane crash inquiry continues. CFSC calls for transparency, accountability in tax revenue management to restore public trust, improve services. And in other news, Zimbabwe police arrest a district official over ferry disaster that killed 97 people. We have the details to these stories and more. Do stay with us. Pope Leo XIV has expressed his deep sorrow over the loss of life and widespread devastation caused by flash floods in Nepal. In a telegram sent on Thursday and signed by Cardinal Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, the Pope commended the souls of those who died to the clemency of the Almighty and offered his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved. We have a Vatican News report read by Tandiwe Zumara.
Pope Leo also assured all those affected by the disaster of his spiritual closeness and prayed for the emergency personnel engaged in ongoing search and rescue operations. The telegram included Pope's prayers for God's assistance and protection upon the people of Nepal. At least 165 people have died in Nepal, while more than 800 remain unaccounted for after a devastating torrent of water, mud and debris swept through communities near the country's northern border with China. Hundreds more are missing in neighboring Tibet, bringing the total number of people unaccounted for across the affected region to almost 1,500. The disaster is believed to have been triggered by the collapse of part of Himalayan glacier, which sent a sudden surge into a river system along the Nepal-China border. Scientists said the force of the collapse was so great that the resulting tremors were initially mistaken for an earthquake. Entire settlements were inundated, while roads, bridges, power installations, and the other essential infrastructure were destroyed or severely damaged. The floods also struck a major border crossing, cutting off transport and trade routes. Many of those missing are foreign visitors who had traveled to the region on pilgrimage to Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar, sites considered sacred by Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and followers of the Bon religion. Thousands of soldiers, police officers, and emergency workers have been deployed across the affected areas. Helicopters are being used to reach isolated communities, evacuate survivors, and deliver food, medical supplies, and other forms of emergency assistance. The tragedy has also renewed concerns about the growing threat posed by glacial instability in the Himalayas, where rising temperatures are accelerating the melting and retreat of glaciers.
The ad hoc committee investigating the Chikangawa plane crash says Malawians should expect to know the truth about the accident that claimed the life of former Vice President Dr. Saulos Chilima and 8 others on June 10, 2024. Chairperson of the committee, Walter Nyamilandu, said this today as the second phase of the inquiry entered its second day, with witnesses continuing to testify before the committee. Emmanuel Chocha reports.
In an interview with Luntha Television, Nyamilandu said he was satisfied with the progress of the second phase, which he described as a technical stage involving key witnesses with expertise in aviation, meteorology, and weather assessment. He cited former meteorologist Olivia Chavunguma, who he said had provided the committee with detailed explanations based on her professional expertise. Nyamilandu also highlighted the importance of security-related testimonies, saying witnesses such as Officer in Charge of Security at Mzuzu Airport, Emma Gondwe, had helped the committee understand the security arrangements at the airport. He has since urged Malawians to remain patient, assuring them that the committee is committed to establish what led to the plane crash and the death of Dr. Chilima and 8 other occupants.
Nothing but truth. Okay? Nothing but the truth. We will not fabricate stories. And everybody's judging us because it's being done transparent. People are able to make their own decisions. By the time we finish, people will have known the truth. The one will have to wait for the report. And that's what we're going to stick to.
Nyamilandu. As the committee continues, the committee says the testimonies and technical evidence being presented will be critical in answering the questions surrounding the Chikangawa plane crash and bringing clarity to the families of the victims and the nation at large.
The Center for Social Concern has called on the government to strengthen transparency and accountability in the management of public resources, saying Malawians need clear information on how tax revenues are collected and spent to build public trust and improve service delivery. Agnes Nyilongo, Economic Governance and Justice Officer at the Center for Social Concern, made the remarks while reacting to the Ministry of Finance and Treasury's plans to broaden the tax base and part of efforts to reduce the tax burden on citizens. Gift Kalonga has filed this report.
Nyilongo said the government should strengthen transparency in public procurement by publishing information on tenders, winning companies, and awarded contracts on a public portal. She said making such information easily accessible would help citizens understand how public funds are being spent and build trust in government institutions. She also called for greater citizen participation in the budgeting process, including at district council level. Nyilongo urged the government to provide budgets in simple and accessible language and introduce a public expenditure dashboard showing taxes collected and money spent on specific projects, including supporting documents such as receipts and invoices for major projects.
That the government can follow is also on public spending dashboard, where they should publish a website with a live portal where they can track tax revenue collected and expenditure. We are talking of how much money they have used on a certain project and how much money they have used on another project, so that people should be able to follow up. And they should also include issues like receipts and even invoices for the big projects that they have maybe awarded to other companies. Yeah.
Economic expert Vincent Matiachirwa has welcomed efforts by the government to intensify tax collection, saying the Malawi Revenue Authority, MRA, has a responsibility to collect taxes from citizens. However, he has urged authorities to ensure that the money collected is properly accounted for and channeled towards development, particularly in areas such as infrastructure, health, while calling on Malawians to pay their taxes and avoid tax evasion.
Let me call upon all the MRA personnel who are involved in tax collection to ensure that accountability is there. The money that is collected, the taxes that are collected, are put in the designated accounts.
During the launch of the Malawi Revenue Authority's 2026 to 2031 Corporate Strategic Plan, Finance Minister Joseph Mwanamveka said strengthening revenue mobilization and tax compliance is key to generating resources for national development. He said increased revenue collection will help government support priority sectors such as health, education and agriculture. Mwanamveka urged Malawians to comply with tax collection systems and fulfill their tax obligations, while encouraging the public to engage the MRA for clarification on tax-related measures. He also called on development partners to support the successive implementation of the strategic plan. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
National Youth Council of Malawi Chief Executive Officer Roda Gadama Misomali has challenged Catholic youth to translate their faith into action by using their skills, talents and leadership abilities to contribute to the development of Malawi. She made the remarks on Wednesday during the 2026 National Catholic Youth Conference at St. Joseph's Teachers Training College in Bembeke, in the Diocese of Dedza, where more than 300 young people from all dioceses across Malawi have gathered for the 5-day conference. Have more details in this report.
In her remarks, Gadama said being rooted in Christ should not mean remaining passive, but should inspire young people to produce positive results in their communities through their character, skills, work, innovation, service and leadership. She likened a young person rooted in Christ to a tree, saying just as a tree grows, bears fruit, provides shade, and gives life, young people should also use their faith to create meaningful change in society.
The Malawi Conference of Catholic Bishops for recognizing that young people are not merely the future of the church and the nation, they are also the present. The youth are already shaping our parishes, our communities, our farms, our schools, our digital spaces, our economy, and our social life.
The 2026 National Catholic Youth Conference, running from August 26 to 30, is being held under the theme Rooted in Christ, Sent for Mission, celebrating 125 years of evangelization in Malawi. The conference is aimed at strengthening the faith of young Catholics, developing their leadership skills, and empowering them to make a positive impact in their communities. The gathering includes prayer, leadership workshops, motivation talks, group discussions, team building activities, casual performances, gospel music, and talent showcases.
You are still watching news on Luntha television. Before we proceed, another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV prays for victims of devastating Nepal floods. Ad hoc committee assures Malawians of truth as Chikangawa plane crash inquiry continues. TFSC calls for transparency, accountability in tax revenue management to restore public trust, improve services. And in other news, Zimbabwe police arrest a district official over ferry disaster that killed 97 people. Moving on. The Tobacco Commission says it is tightening tobacco production controls and improving traceability to protect Malawian farmers as global demand for tobacco shifts and industry faces growing pressure. Tobacco Commission spokesperson Telefilas Chigunembe told Luntha television on Thursday that the measures are aimed at matching production with the market demand while maintaining the quality and competitiveness of Malawi's tobacco on the international market. Judy Fogan has filed this report.
In his remarks, Chigwenembe said farmers need to produce tobacco volumes that buyers can absorb to avoid being left with unsold crops. He said controlling production and improving the quality and traceability of tobacco will help ensure farmers continue to have access to reliable international markets.
The tobacco that our farmers produce in Malawi will be attractive to our international customers. So we believe that these two strategies will protect farmers by ensuring that in a farming season, no farmer is left with unsold tobacco, which customers cannot absorb.
Commenting on the matter, agricultural expert Leonard Chimoza said Malawi should gradually reduce its dependence on tobacco by investing in other cash crops such as cotton, sugar, tea, coffee, pigeon seeds, and groundnuts.
We have quite a number of alternative cash crops that can substitute tobacco gradually. We have potential weather pattern that can suffice a production of cotton.
Meanwhile, the Tobacco Association of Malawi, TAMA president Abel Kalima Banda, says governments must first identify and support alternative export crops before Malawi can reduce its dependence on tobacco, which remains a major source of foreign exchange for the country.
Malawi as a country depends on tobacco for export. So it's not us as growers, but now it will be the job for the government now to find for us the crop for export.
As global tobacco demand shifts, the country faces a delicate balancing act by producing enough to protect farmers' incomes without flooding the markets. While diversification is increasingly necessary, tobacco remains a key foreign exchange earner, making a stable market crucial for the country's farmers and economy. For Luntha News, this is Judith Oga.
The Driving Schools Association of Malawi has raised concern over the increasing number of road accidents involving Kabaza riders, with its president, Gracious Madzodika, saying wards at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospitals are filled with victims of motorcycle crashes. Madzodika made the remarks following the introduction of reduced driver's license training fees for Kabaza riders, which have been cut from 300,000 kwacha to 70,000 kwacha to encourage more riders to undergo training and improve road safety. Kwara Kanzati has further report read by Wangani Chirwa.
Speaking in an interview with Luntha television, Madzi Odika said the high number of accidents involving Kabaza riders is worrying, with many victims ending up at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital. He said inadequate knowledge of the highway code and road safety rules is contributing to the accidents, making training essential for riders.
They don't know how to, when they are entering into the main road, when the right turn, they don't know this because they are not trained on the same. But I can assure you today that as a Driving Schools Association countrywide, we are ready to help.
Makokasa chairperson Moses Malabu noted that many riders struggle to register their motorcycles and buy helmets at the same time, while over 20 riders are currently undergoing training at the town hall, with more registering as the association works with the Directorate of Road Traffic and Safety Services to extend the training to districts including Chitipa, Zomba, Palombe, Mulanje and Dedzam.
We are telling the public that all the mini district leaders, regional leaders, they are there to collect names of those who are those who want to learn highway code 1 and 2 and be able to obtain driving school. Driving license. So as of now, we just want to urge them that they should go and register their names.
The Driving Schools Association says it remains committed to training Kabaza riders nationwide to improve road safety. For Luntha Television, this is Wongani Chirwa.
And in other news, police in Zimbabwe have arrested a district official in connection with the sinking of a government-run ferry on Lake Kariba, a disaster that claimed at least 97 lives. The 49-year-old district coordinator for the state-run Rural Infrastructure Development Agency has been charged with culpable homicide. Police said on Wednesday that he appeared in court and remains in custody. Africa News report read by Tandiwem Zumara.
The ferry capsized in bad weather on the 11th of August while operating on Lake Kariba, which straddles the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. Authorities estimate that more than 150 people were on board the vessel when it sank, despite the ferry being authorized to carry only 90 passengers. At least 30 children under the age of 10 are reported to have died in the disaster. 77 people were rescued following the incident, while search and recovery operations continued amid efforts to establish the circumstances surrounding the sinking. Lake Kariba is the world's largest man-made lake by volume and serves as an important transport route for communities living around the lake. The ferry provides a crucial link between Kariba town and remote communities, with the tragedy raising concerns over passenger safety, vessel capacity, and the enforcement of transport regulations.
That item concludes our edition of the news. Before we go, another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV prays for victims of devastating Nepal floods. Ad hoc committee assures Malawians of truth as Chikangawa plane crash inquiry continues. TFSC calls for transparency, accountability in tax revenue management to restore public trust, improve services. And in other news, Zimbabwe police arrest a district official over ferry disaster that killed 97 people. My name is Fales Chizombe. Many thanks for watching. Do stay tuned in for a weather update by Tapiwa Kudamoto.
Good evening, and it's time for weather forecast. Cool to cold temperatures were experienced over most areas last night and today in the morning hours, with a few stations still experiencing and reporting very cold temperatures, such as Mulanje Mountain, which reported 9 degrees Celsius, 10 over Nyiga in Rumpi, Nzuzu and Vumbwe in Cholo, while in Chipe Agriculture in Leta and Chiredze in Lilongwe experienced cold temperatures at 12 degrees Celsius. We are currently expecting partly cloudy conditions to persist over most areas, accompanied by cool to cold temperatures tonight and tomorrow in the morning hours, or generally warm to hot temperatures are expected tomorrow in the afternoon. This will be accompanied by windy conditions, but we should also expect Mwela winds to be blowing over our lake water bodies such as Lake Malawi and Lake Chirwa. Hence, we are still advising all lake users, including fishermen, to continue being very observant. This is all due to the influence of this high pressure system, which is still pumping in fairly moist southeasterlies into the country, influencing all these conditions. Tonight, we should also expect partly cloudy conditions to persist over the southern part of the country, the central and the north, accompanied by windy conditions and cool to cold temperatures. Temperatures will generally feel cold over most areas in the south, the central and the north tomorrow in the morning hours, but we should expect a few stations to experience mild temperatures such as Ngabu, Nsanje, Mangoshi and Monkey Bay at around 19 degrees Celsius. This will be accompanied by partly cloudy conditions across the country, with a chance of isolated rain drizzles in some areas as well as windy conditions. Afternoon temperatures will remain hot in some areas such as Ngabu and Nsanje at 29 degrees Celsius, similarly over Mangoshi, Monkey Bay and Karonga, but generally warm conditions are expected over the south, the central and the northern part of the country. This will also be accompanied by partly cloudy conditions over the south, the central and the north, with windy conditions persisting in some areas. Looking into Friday, we should also expect partly cloudy conditions to persist over the southern part of the country, the central and the north, with a chance of isolated rain drizzles. We are also expecting Mwela winds to continue blowing over our lake water bodies such as Lake Malawi and Lake Chirwa. Hence, we are advising all lake users to continue being very observant. I'm Tapiwa Kudamoto. Be wise, be weatherwise.